Well, welcome to Ward 13, Manchester. Hey, you guys are live now. We're eschewing, we're eschewing politics. What? They can't be obscene. What?
It's a very auspicious year for the New York Yankees because to start off spring training, A-Rod singles.
Oh, jeez. Okay, are you going to be with us, Tom? If you can call back.
He said he couldn't play anymore.
Hey, I'm just going to be the honest broker.
Okay.
I watched that particular highlight, and on an 0-2 pitch, that ball was grooved. I'm sorry. Let's be honest.
Okay, folks, we're not going to talk about politics today. I have two fans of, everybody talks about ISIS and ISIL. And the funny thing is that, a year ago, Vladimir Putin, the head of one evil empire, was telling our Secretary of State that she was crazy to fund these people, and now they're our mortal enemies. It kind of reminds me of what happened 95 years ago, January. The Harry Frazee of the Red Sox sold Babe Ruth, and he went down the Boston Post Road to New York. And we armed our mortal enemy. So let's forget about one enemy, evil empire, the Russians, ISIS or ISIL, and let's talk to two experts on the true evil empire in the hearts of all Manchesterites, the New York Yankees.
First of all, John, Babe Ruth took the train.
Yeah, sure he didn't. He took You sure he didn't take a taxi, Tom?
I'm sure trains you can drink a lot more on the train.
Let me introduce Thomas Massingale, who's been on the show now, but he's in a car now on a phone because we didn't think we could get the conference call going. Tom's in England. And can we get the picture of Tom, if you've got one, John? Now, Tom and I go back to the game 163 of the Boston,
right.
New York playoff. We were in Warren Towers.
People still don't believe we saw that.
Oh, what do you mean? Well, no, it's a conference call, John.
We saw that game.
You need to speak up, Tom. We can't hear you. Well,
People still don't believe we saw that game.
Well, we didn't see it in person. Did you see it in person? Were you there?
I saw it in person.
Oh, I was watching from the window from the 13th floor. I could only see right field, and I was listening to it on the radio. I could still see your.
I saw it on TV.
I could still see your face, though.
How could you not go?
You couldn't get tickets.
It was right behind us.
You couldn't get tickets.
Tickets were easy.
Well, let's just say my history of this evil Yankees fan, Tom, goes back to the humiliation of game 163. Now, my story about Pete, who I could just say we were at your house in Pebble Beach, remember? And there was a lightning storm and the cable went out. That was the 7th game of the 2003 ALCS. And Pedro Martinez was pitching. And Pete said, let's go to a bar. We can't miss this. But this is before 2004. So I said, Pete, I'm just going to stay with your wife and with Victoria. Victoria was there. They didn't care about baseball. And I followed the game on the computer because I figured, being a pre-2004 Red Sox fan, disaster was going to strike. And Pete, I can still see your face coming into your house at Pebble Beach afterwards. I'm depressed as hell, and you just put up like who was that? Mayor Koch, that victory, both arms extended. I gotta tell you though,
it was a beautiful
this show is about baseball, right?
What?
Yeah.
This show is about baseball, right?
It's about baseball. John, can we hear Tom? Okay, we can hear you, Tom. You guys.
And screw you for signing Yohan Moncada.
Guys.
How dare you?
They'll regret that.
And I know Pete thinks it was too much money, but who cares? It's not our money.
No, the funny thing is, John was decrying the possibility.
You still there, Pete?
You know?
I was hoping he'd be.
Yeah, I'm here.
He would have been mighty in Yankee Stadium.
Oh, before the Sox signed him, John was saying what an average guy he was. And then after the signing, he was singing his praises.
Yeah, because we thought the Yankees were going to sign him, right?
The mighty Kong.
Hey, Pete.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My friend Pete, you tried out with the Kansas City Royals. You probably know more about baseball than anybody I know. Can you tell us about the pitching staff of the Yankees, particularly Tanaka and Sabathia? Let's just go to Sabathia. Do you think the extra weight's going to help him?
That's a good question because that's what everybody seems to focus on. But it seems like he's never really had a big problem dealing with his weight. The problem he's got is he's getting older and he's got a lot of miles on him. And he's arguably the key to their season because Tanaka, I think, is going to be okay. He's going to probably get you 15, 16 wins. But Sabathia is the guy they're going to really have to rely on to eat innings and pick up a lot of strong wins.
Well, he was, how many years was he the top pitcher in the AL?
Yeah, and all those short rest games late in the season that he threw when he was with Milwaukee and other teams that he was playing with to get him to do playoff pushes, and that doesn't go away. I mean, that takes a toll.
He's going to be 35 years old in July. Can you think of any other pitcher that hefty that ever had a long career that, we can think about? The pitchers that seem to last were like, think about Nolan Ryan, think about, Tom Seaver, people like that. Mickey Lalich, and my favorite when I was a teenager, Wilbur Wood, who could go 20 wins and 20 losses, each season with the White Sox. Wow, Wilbur Wood got hit in the knee with a ball.
He was a knuckleballer, though, so he could afford to go longer. But
can you think of a pitcher that pitched into their late 30s, that size, that, is still effective?
No, and, the name that comes to my mind, you might not agree, but Clemens was always a big guy, but the thing about Clemens, like Ryan, he took care of his legs. The legs go first, not the arm. And I don't think Sabathia's been as diligent about his running routine as Clemens was to keep him strong late in his career.
Well, that's what I'll never forget when Tom Seaver came over to the Mets. And remember, who was the kid from the Reds that they picked up, 77? Was it Don Gullett?
Zachary.
No. The young phenom. I'm talking about 1977 or so.
When they traded Seaver.
No, I'm talking about the Yankees had a pitcher. Tom, do you remember the 70s? They picked up a Reds pitcher, 77 about. You still there?
Tom Browning?
What?
I wasn't Tom Browning.
No, we're talking about the 70s.
Yeah, I'm at a loss for who you're talking about from the Reds.
All right, you guys. The thing was, he was a young kid. His arm broke down, and Seaver said exactly what you're saying. Seaver said all the power in a pitcher comes from their legs, that he hadn't done his running, he wasn't conditioning his legs, and that's why his arm fell off.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I think, Sabathia's on his last leg, so to speak.
Okay, you SOB. Let's see. Don Gullett. He was 26 years old. He came over from the Reds.
Oh, yeah,
77, he went 14 and 4.
That was right after the
right.
At 76 when the Reds shut the Yankees down in 4 games.
Right, and then the boss, that was one of the big signings of its time. They thought this kid was going to be, what Guidry was. And he went from 14 and 4, 3.58 to 4 and 2, and he was out of baseball. Tell us about Tanaka. What do you think about Tanaka? What does he have? What's his condition?
I think he's going to be fine this year, but I think in the end the Yankees aren't going to get full value because once again a lot of innings at a young age. Frankly, a lot of the Asian imports haven't really stood the test of time. Nomo was one of the few who's really value added. But look at Dice K. He was good for a little while, but he flamed out, and I think Tanaka's going to be the same. They'll get probably 3 good years out of him, and that's it.
That's, with Dice K. Why do you think that is? Because I remember somebody was saying because of the rigidity of the Japanese system that the pitchers that have been, brought up in the system just don't adapt.
Exactly. I played ball over there, and that's exactly right. They are all into form over function, and, it just, they put too much emphasis on repetitive mechanics, which is great, but there's a point of diminishing returns, and I don't know, for some reason they just think that these guys can throw more innings and throwing more is better, and I don't know.
What other pitcher is going to step up for the Yankees?
I think what's his name now? The Nova is going to be pretty good. Capuano is also in their rotation. He's an all-star. He's had better days. Really, unless they decide to put Andrew Miller in the rotation, they're going to have some problems. They got rid of Dave Phelps, and he was good. He could have been a starter. I don't think Adam Warren's going to ever be a great starter. They're just really thin.
Hey, you have any opinion, Thom? You still there? I guess Thom's left us.
Yeah, he would have chimed in by now.
I was expecting him to. Tell us about catching with the Yankees, Pete.
I think McCann's due for a bounce back. He was strong late in the season last year. His best days haven't passed him by yet, so I expect he'll have a pretty strong season. Maybe about 280 plus and 25 plus homers. I think he'll do fine for the Yankees as long as Girardi's real good about giving his guys rest when they need it, having been a former catcher. So.
Okay, let's move on to the infield. You excited about Stephen Drew being back?
Not in the least. He's a guy who, if he was going to be something, he'd have been it by now. Frankly, I think he's a stopgap for guys like Refsnyder who are coming up. They want to get a season out of Drew and just have him hold the position until hopefully next year when a couple of their prospects can fill in.
What about Mark Teixeira? Is he going to be making a comeback?
He stated he wanted to hit 30 and 100, and I don't see it. His problems, he's had multiple problems, but some of them have been with his wrists, and it's hard. That's not, hamstrings are one thing, but wrists are a whole other thing. What hitter can really excel when they've had bulky wrists? I think if he hits 20, we'll be happy, and but I think his best days are definitely gone by. He's an example of really the whole team.
What do you mean he's an example of the whole team? He was signed to a very sweet contract, wasn't he? And he gave you a couple of good years.
Yeah.
He was on the...
He was another guy. They say in the stock market, past performance is not necessarily an indicator of potential. He's exactly that. He was hot for years with California and Atlanta, and the Yankees picked him up, too late. By example, I mean he's old and breaking down, and he's living off his reputation like so many guys on that team.
What about
Carlos?
One
of the few bright spots I think for that team is Brett Gardner, who
really?
This could be his breakout year. But even at that, he's not going to hit 30 homers. He's not even going to hit 20 homers probably. Maybe he'll hit 20. But if that's your star, that's tough.
You didn't get to see the clip we had of Babe Ruth being driven by the great Harold Lloyd, through the streets of 1920 New York City to Yankee Stadium, the great old Yankee. Well, geez, 1920, it wasn't Yankee Stadium they were going to. Now that I think of it, they were going to the Polo Grounds. because
Yeah.
Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built, wasn't until 23. So, and they're just helter-skelter. It's a disaster. And I have to tell you, reading the coverage of the spring break, we got 10 minutes left, Pete. It's kind of... When you watch the show, you'll see the metaphor. It's kind of your team seems to be kind of out of control, kind of a disaster. Tell us about Tell us about Carlos Beltran. You know, he was a great yeoman player, if you know what I mean. Not a great superstar or anything, but he was a hell of a player, like when he was with the Mets. Is there anything left in him? Anything left?
No, I would tell you he's on the same exact. In fact, I expect a little bit less from him than from Teixeira. He's another guy living off a reputation. He flared out like when he was with Houston and had those great couple seasons and great playoff performances. But you know, if you get 20 homers out of Beltran, I'd be happy to see that. Honestly, if the Yanks break 500 this year, I'll be pretty happy.
500? That's all you want? 500?
Not what I want, it's what I expect.
With a $230 million payroll, you don't think there's any chance? Well, what about Ellsbury? Is he going to have a career year, or is he on the downs? You know, is he just a B player? What do you think about
Ellsbury's another? You know, I link him with Gardner. He's still got some potential to have a really strong season.
Is he going to bat leadoff?
He could hit 25 or so.
Is he going to bat leadoff this year?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they might bat Gardner at leadoff, but
why would they play him?
I think Ellsbury at leadoff is a mistake. I think he's a number 2 or 3 hitter, preferably 3, to be honest with you, and force him to hit for a little more power.
I disagree. You know, we saw Ricky. We watched many, Ricky Henderson games where we were out in the Bay Area together. There's a guy who had 28 homer power. Of course, when he was on the Yankees, he had spectacular seasons, and you guys went nowhere. We're going to show another little clip, Pete, and then we're going to get back to you. It features Babe Ruth.
Okay.
Hopefully you can hear it. Can you play that? Here we go.
I am. Oh, no, you're not. I'm going to put somebody in your place to hit for you. Listen, you. Nobody hits for me, see?
That's the spirit, Freddy.
Just what? Come on, come on. There he is again. He'll just make another out. He can't hit no ball. See? What I tell you.
Over the fence. Look at it go, by God. Look at it go. Give up and look at that ball go over the fence.
Didn't I tell you could hit it?
Boys, baseball is just like life. Yesterday, Freddie was a failure. Today, he's a big hero. It just goes to show if you keep on trying, you'll come out on top as Freddie.
Keep on trying, the Babe. That was the Babe. Yesterday he was the GOAT. Today's the hero. Let's talk about your 800-pound gorilla, A-Roid, Alex Rodriguez. We were talking about that with Thom. You got about 4 or 5 minutes. What do you want to say about A-Roid? What kind of... I think that he might surprise us. He's always been able to get, his supply of PEDs. You know what I mean? He's always been able to find juice. And he might hit 280 with 20, 25 dingers. Or do you think that's impossible?
I think he's capable of it. What I think is going to be tough for him is getting the at-bats to do it. He's going to have to get so hot in the spring and in the early part of the season that he's going to force Girardi's hand to play him. And I just don't see him convincing Girardi that he's going to be an everyday DH / backup infielder. So that's why I don't think he's going to get the at-bats to hit that many homers.
He's not going to get that. He's a $26 million man. $26 million.
I know. I'm sure there's a temptation to try and get some value out of that contract, but I honestly think they've set the conditions where, they've written him off. They've got Headley penciled in at third base, and that's where he's going to stay. Unless, if Teixeira goes down, A-Rod could wind up getting a lot more time at first base. That's the only scenario I see where he's going to get any opportunity.
You think he can play first with his hips?
Absolutely. And look, he's a shortstop by trade. I understand he's old and he's had some work done on his hips and all that, but I think he could play first base. Why not? Hey, if Prince Fielder can play first.
Got 1 minute, and then we're going to say goodbye. How the Red Sox going to do?
Out of the money, they'll be third place. It's going to be Baltimore and probably Toronto. I don't think the Rays have what it takes this year either. So I'm going to say the Sox will be in third, and the Yankees in fourth, and probably the Rays in fifth.
Well, maybe we'll have another baseball rota as the season starts, and then we can make our World Series picks and all that. But thank you very much, Pete, for coming on. We'll talk to you later. Take care.
All right, John.
Yeah, bye.
Ciao.
Well, Ward 13, that was the report from our evil empire. And I'm going to leave you with a little of that, more of that clip of Babe Ruth, the great Babe, one of the great Red Sox left-handers, probably the best left-hander the Red Sox ever had of all time. And the only guy to lead the league in average, RBI, home runs, and ERA. Think about that. Thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Can you roll that, John?
Oh, boy. Over the fence.
Do you think do that?
Well, and try.
Well, the pepper. Let's swing now. No, it's not right. Dula, watch me. Oh. Just as if you were on the... Now swing. That's it.
I got it. Hey, Mike, throw me a couple, will you? Better watch out, but...
All right. Hey.
Gee, that's 2 out. First time and only 1 win. Who's up? I am. Oh, no, you're not. I'm gonna put somebody in your place to hit for you. Listen, you. Nobody hits for me, see?
That's the spirit, Freddy.
Got what? Come on, come on. There he is again. He'll just make another out. He can't hit no ball. See? What I tell you?
Over the fence. Look at it go, by God. Look at it go. Give up. And look at that ball go over the fence.
Didn't I tell you you could hit it?
Now, boys, please put it there, kid. All right, you're great. Boys, baseball is just like life. Yesterday, Freddie was a failure. Today, he's a big hero. It just goes to show if you keep on trying, you'll come out on top as Freddie did. Mr. Bowen, it's been a pleasure indeed.
Goodbye, Mr. Pooch. Thank you very much. I'm sure it was a great lesson for the boys.
Goodbye, sir.